Hello everyone, today I will tell you about a 16-year-old boy who got into a society of depraved women. This is Roger. The boy comes to the country manor for the holidays, looking all the way at the deep cleavage of Mrs. Muller's maid. Upon arrival, he is already met by his mother and aunt and also by his younger sister Berta. The boy goes for a walk with the girl, having met Mrs. Muller again. The maid picked fruit for him and right in front of the boy, the maid lifts up her dress and in front of Roger relieves himself, which is why the guy from eyes widen in surprise. Taking the basket and going for a walk again, Roger notices Mrs. Muller's husband in the forest among the trees for a ritual to awaken her brave soldier. Stepping on a branch and impersonating Roger, he rushes to run, but stumbling falls to the ground. Hearing somewhere nearby the female laughter, the boy discovers the maid Ursula who sings songs while someone sweats over her. After the maid greets him, Roger rushes away. The boy's mother tirelessly monitors the behavior of people in at home. Therefore, every time she reminds everyone how to behave culturally at the table. Calling a nanny named Kate, the woman asks to put Berta to bed, and when they leave, Roger yawns, pretending that he also wants to sleep, after which he asks permission from his mother and go to bed. Intending to sleep, the boy hears in the corridor the sound of a thundering dishes. Looking out of the room, he notices the maid Helen, who half leaned out of the room due to the fact that someone was attached behind the girl. Shaking up, Helen goes on to deliver tea. The next day, Father Roger arrives at the estate, together with Lisa. The elder sister of the boy. Father owns a factory for the production of military accessories and is disappointed that in peacetime people like him have to live on water and bread. Although competitors do not, they are embarrassed to produce orders and medals for the Germans gradually conquering Europe. A couple of days later, returning from a farm where the boy was spying on the maids, Roger meets Berta, who takes her brother to the monastery. Women from the estate constantly go to confess, so this time Margarita, Aunt Roger, came to the monastery in confession. She admits that she is constantly visited by thoughts of how she has a Polofsian relationship with various men and also with her nephew Roger. Hearing this, the boy starts to crawl closer but falls down, interrupting his aunt's confession. For the fact that the guy eavesdropped on other people's secrets, he promises punishment in the form of spanking Nettles. At the same time, Lisa's husband returns from the front. In the evening, Roger again hears steps in the corridor. Looking out, the boy, like last time, notices that someone is grabbing Helen and begins to caress her harshly. Not only Roger but also the local is watching this astronomer climbing up to the attic where the telescope is located. Roger discovers that he is not watching the stars at all, but those who make love under the moon. Here nearby lies a small book of the Kama Sutra that Roger steals and hides. Climbing into the barn, the boy begins to study the Kama Sutra, but his hard manual labor is interrupted by one of the workers. Helen looks into the barn through the window, scattering food for the birds. Approaching her, the worker lowers the shutter, holding Helen in window. One day following Mrs. Muller, Roger enters the monastery after her. The woman asks her husband to go out to street. Approaching her from behind, Roger grabs her by the waist trying to dock with her. At this time a scream is heard from the street, the postman, about the beginning of the German war against France. This is a good signal for Father Roger, because his factory will begin to produce medals and orders in huge volumes, bringing good profits. All the men of the estate go to the front. Ursula turns to Roger with a request for help, since the boy's mother allowed the servants to move into the house after there were no men left but Roger. The guy helps Ursula drag the mattress, which ends for the benefit of both. While swimming in the pond, Roger hears the singing of Bertha's nanny Kate. The girl has heard a lot about the boy's adventures, so lifting her dress invites the boy to her. In the evening, Helen comes to Roger's room with tea. As all the men went to, no one else uses the maid dirty in the corridor, so she came to Roger hinting to him in every possible way. After the boy's words that he sleeps so well and without any tea, Helen is going to leave, but as soon as Roger crosses the threshold, she misses her. The next day she sees her sister riding a horse galloping into the stable. Roger goes after her, having heard that Lisa is hot. The boy starts to undress her. The girl resists, but as soon as Mrs. Muller enters the stable, she calms down, after which she herself jumped on the stallion, since none of the men on the estate know, except for the recently arrived head of the family. When evening comes, the maids go to Roger for their portion caresses. After Ursula and Helen, his aunt Margarita also runs to the boy, followed by Kate. After a while, Lisa's sister Roger reports that she is pregnant from her younger brother. This rather spicy conversation is interrupted by the engine of the plane on which Lisa's husband flew from the front. Also in the estate begin to stay former employees with various wounds. In the evening, Ursula appears in Roger's room saying that she is also pregnant. The boy offers the only right decision is to marry someone from the estate. After Ursula, Margarita, Aunt Roger appears with exactly the same news as the others. The boy manages to get out by persuading Ursula to marry a wounded farm worker and bringing his aunt to an astronomer peeping at couples through a telescope, having stained the linen with red paint. Roger persuaded his sister to urgently sleep with the groom, and then the pregnancy can be blamed on him. The holidays are over and it's time to go back to the city to study. Taking out the suitcase with things, Roger meets Helen, who also turned out to be pregnant. The servants need to be like the rest, urgently get married, but according to her she doesn't necessary. Having collected things, Roger gets into the car and all the women of the estate came out to say goodbye to the boy. This is where the film ends.